My name is Rebecca Cole. I walked into our 20-year high school reunion wearing a plain navy dress, and within 5 minutes, I was reminded that in their eyes, I had never amounted to anything. The valet barely glanced at me. I murmured a thank you, tucked my clutch under my arm, and stepped through the grand double doors of Aspen Grove Resort. The chandelier above the lobby glimmered like Versailles, just gaudy enough to remind you didn't belong. Everyone was already inside. I could hear the hum of laughter, the swell of applause, and the clink of wine glasses even before the concierge offered me a name tag. It read Rebecca Cole, in generic serif font. No title, no distinction, no weight. Chloe's touch, no doubt. I still wore the ring from West Point under my sleeve, but no one saw it. That was exactly how I planned it. Inside, the main ballroom opened like a theater stage. Long tables dressed in ivory linens. Floral arrangements crowned with crystals. A six-tier cake glittering under a pedestal spotlight. At the front stood a large screen playing a slideshow of memories. Prom, debate club, cheerleaders, class trip to D.C. Chloe was in half of them. I was in maybe 3. Chloe Cole, my younger sister, was already on stage when I entered. She wore a red sheath dress that practically screamed power, her voice pouring through the microphone with effortless charisma. And after 15 years at the Department of Justice, I'm proud to say I've recently been appointed Deputy Director for Western Cyber Oversight, she said, tossing her hair with a laugh. But I'll never forget where it started. Right here at Jefferson High. She paused, her smile gleaming like cut glass. And of course, I have to thank my sister, who is with us tonight, for always being uniquely herself. The crowd chuckled, unsure if it was a compliment. I didn't flinch. That was Chloe's talent, weaponizing praise. I found my name at a far-off table, table 14, near the buffet trays and close to the exit. The names at the front tables were embossed in gold. Dr. Hartman, CEO Wong, Senator Gill, Chloe Cole. I sat down on my no-centerpiece table, half-eaten shrimp cocktail on a shared plate. From across the room, Jason Hart spotted me. He hadn't changed much. Still tall, still smug. He made his way over, drink in hand, suit perfect, and leaned in with that smirk that never matured. "Becca," he said smoothly. "Still stationed in the desert? Or are you pushing paper in Kansas now?" I smiled tightly. "Nice to see you too, Jason." He laughed. "Come on, I'm joking. But seriously, didn't you study pre-law? What happened?" Before I could answer, a woman in pearls leaned toward another guest and whispered loud enough for me to hear. "Didn't she drop out of law school? Shame. So much potential." Melissa Young caught my eye from 3 tables away. She gave a faint smile. I returned it, unsure if it meant pity or solidarity. Probably both. The dinner crowd thickened. Waiters moved like clockwork, serving prime rib and scalloped potatoes. Chloe stopped by, all theatrical hugs and sparkling teeth. "Oh, Becca," she said, "glad you could make it. I almost didn't recognize you in that navy vintage." "It's just a dress," I said. "Well, you always were practical." She tilted her head. "We really should talk sometime. You've got so many stories, I'm sure." "Only the quiet ones," I replied. Jason returned now, accompanied by 2 other classmates. One of them, a tanned woman in a pale blue suit, squinted at me. "Wait, were you in the Army?" "That's right. You left after sophomore year to enlist or something." A man behind her barked a laugh. "Wait, you were in the Army? So what, like a clerk or mess hall sergeant?" Several heads turned. Some laughed. Jason looked amused. Chloe said nothing. I took a sip of water. The glass trembled slightly in my hand, but I held it steady. The air felt suddenly heavier, like gravity had shifted inside the room, but I didn't let it pull me down. I stood up without a word, adjusted the sleeve that hid my West Point ring, and looked at each of them with a calm I'd earned over 2 decades in war rooms and underground bunkers. I smiled faintly, quietly. "Something like that," I said, then walked to the balcony where my encrypted phone pinged silently. They saw nobody in a discount dress. But I had once briefed NATO in that same dress, under a military coat they never knew existed. The wind outside curled around the balcony edges like it was trying to eavesdrop. I stayed out there a while, my back straight, eyes on the dark treetops swaying above the golf course. The resort lights bled gold into the grass. But up here where no one cared to stand, it was quiet. That kind of quiet was rare in my world. Inside, the clamor of success stories swelled again. Laughter. Toasts. Another slideshow frame sliding into view. Chloe with the debate team. Chloe in front of the White House. Chloe at Harvard. The door behind me opened with a hiss. "Jason, there you are," he said, already halfway through his next scotch. "You always did like standing on the edge of things." I didn't answer. He leaned against the railing, too close. "You know," he started, voice casual, "you really used to have a future. Valedictorian track. Debate team prodigy. Harvard law practically begging. And then, poof, Army." He laughed softly. Same clipped arrogance. Same need to feel one step ahead. It pulled me back to the last time we stood this close senior year. The dorm hallway still smelled like burnt coffee and laundry soap. I had told him I'd accepted West Point. "You're kidding," he had said, jaw tightening. "The military? You're throwing this away." "It's not throwing away," I'd replied. "It's choosing something bigger." "Yeah," he snapped. "Bigger than me." And then he walked out. No goodbye. No call. Just vanished. Now, 20 years later, here he was again, still resenting a choice that had nothing to do with him. "I didn't disappear, Jason," I said calmly. "I just stopped explaining myself." He scoffed. "You always did like cryptic answers." I turned to go, but he caught my arm gently, just enough to make me stop. "You could have been someone, Rebecca." I looked at him. "I am someone, just not someone you'd recognize." Before he could answer, the door swung open again. "Chloe." "Jason," she called in that faux, breezy tone she used when she wanted to be overheard. "They're asking for the Golden Trio picture. Come on, for old time's sake." Her eyes flicked to me, her smile widening. "Oh, Becca, didn't know you were still here. Thought you might have ducked out early like usual." Jason dropped his hand from my arm. Chloe approached, looping her arm around as like it had always belonged there. "Anyway," she continued, brushing a non-existent speck off Jason's jacket, "everyone's dying to know what our class's only DOJ appointee and its most successful real estate developer have been up to." I told them, "You two are still deciding who wins the power couple crown." She laughed, but there was something pointed in her glance at me. Jason chuckled awkwardly, clearly unsure whether this was flirtation or performance. Chloe's eyes sparkled. "And Rebecca, what are you up to these days?" she asked sweetly. "Still somewhere hot?" "I'm in transition," I said simply. "Oh," she said with mock concern. "Not out of work, I hope." "I manage fine," I replied. "Just not from behind podiums." She tilted her head. Always so mysterious. Her smile tightened. "But I guess not everyone likes the spotlight." She turned, tugging Jason back inside, her heels clicking with satisfaction. I stayed there a moment longer, letting the wind thread through my fingers. The bar lights painted slivers of gold across the floorboards. I wasn't angry. I'd spent too many years learning how to feel everything and show nothing. Eventually, I re-entered the ballroom. The room had shifted into after-dinner mingling. Smaller clusters now. More drinks. Looser tongues. Melissa was at the edge of a group near the bar, nursing a glass of wine and watching. I joined her. "That was painful," she murmured. I smiled faintly. "Which part?" "All of it," she replied, then added softly, "You look better than them all, by the way." I doubt they'd agree. Doesn't matter. Truth doesn't need a majority vote. I appreciated her. She didn't pretend to know everything. Didn't rush to fill silence. She simply observed. Across the room, Chloe leaned in close to Jason, whispering something that made him laugh. When she caught me watching, she didn't look away. She just smiled. "Didn't she used to follow you around like a shadow?" Melissa asked. "She learned to outshine me instead," I said. Before she could respond, a gentle hand touched my shoulder. I turned. Mr. Walters. He looked older, grayer hair, thinner frame, but the eyes were just as sharp as they were when he taught AP history. "Miss Cole," he said warmly, "I was hoping you'd be here. I heard about your military service." I nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Walters. You wrote a paper on asymmetric warfare in my class," he said. "I still remember it. Brilliant work." I blinked. That paper had been a late-night act of defiance, written after a phone call with Jason left me in tears. "I remember," I said softly. He leaned in slightly, voice lower. "Tell me, did you ever serve in Ghost Viper? I've heard things. They thought I disappeared into obscurity. In truth, I disappeared into national silence." I locked the hotel room door behind me and exhaled slowly. The buzz of the reunion faded into a faint thrum beneath the thick walls. The room itself was unassuming. Faux crystal lamps, cream-colored carpet, a folded bathrobe on the bed. It looked like it could belong to any guest. That was the point. I slipped off my heels, crossed the room, and reached under the hanging navy dress bag. Beneath it, nestled inside a black hardshell case with no markings, was the reason I still woke up every day with purpose. I flicked open the latches. The interior glowed faint blue. A fingerprint scan, retinal scan, voice confirmation. "Cole, Rebecca." Clearance Echo 5. A soft chime. Then the screen lit up. Secure comms online. A flurry of data populated the display. Threat indicators. Unresolved protocols. Project Merlin status. Active breach containment. I skimmed the latest assessment. For red zones, 2 possible internal actors. 1 breach point matching the blueprint I'd flagged. Incoming call. LSJ 2 Cyber Command. I tapped the screen. His face appeared, square-jawed, midnight stubble. Eyes like he hadn't slept in 2 days. "Ma'am," he said, not bothering with small talk. "I've just come out of debrief. Situation's changed. They want your eyes on the Merlin intercepts ASAP." I didn't blink. "Joint Chiefs, unofficially?" "Officially, it's an advisory consult. But let's not pretend this isn't critical. We've got a NATO partner compromised and internal chatter linking the breach to Phoenix Protocol files." He paused. His voice softened slightly. "Rebecca, they need you back in D.C. by Monday." I stared at the blinking map overlay. "For red zones, yes, but there was a 5th just starting to pulse." "I can't leave yet," I said quietly. "Understood. But if this escalates, it will." I cut him off. "It's already in motion." He looked at me like he wanted to argue, but didn't. "You've got 48, he said. "After that, we extract whether you're ready or not. I'm sending intel briefs to your secure cloud." The screen flickered as the call ended. For a moment, I just sat there, the glow of the case humming beside me. The hum had become a comfort, not because it was peaceful, but because it meant I was still needed, still in the fight. A chime. New secure message. Pentagon Forward Liaison. Subject, urgent. Standing Authority update line. Direct extraction possible, if urgent. You're the fulcrum. I closed the message. I already knew what it meant. If Merlin collapsed and the intel leak spread to civilian grids, it wouldn't matter whether I was dancing in a ball gown or kneeling in a war room. I would be pulled out. The fulcrum wasn't a title. It was a tether. I stood, stretched, then walked to the window. Outside, the lights of Aspen Grove still sparkled like a painting too polished to be real. I could hear music again, soft jazz now, followed by a DJ's voice booming something about a class slideshow. 20 years ago, I sat in that auditorium with Jason, Chloe, and Melissa, listening to our valedictorian speak about legacy. I clapped politely, smiling for the yearbook photo. I never imagined my legacy would be silence. 15 years ago, Ghost Viper deployed on a mission so sensitive we burned every scrap of planning material afterward. We succeeded, but at a cost. 3 agents never came home. Their names didn't make the news. I gave the final go order on that op. I was the youngest to do so. No medal, no citation, just a single line in an encrypted server. Operation completed. No attribution. Debrief sealed indefinitely. I carried those silences like medals no one could pin. Now they needed me again. I turned from a window and began to pack. Not much. Just the case, 2 devices, and a dress uniform folded beneath a false bottom panel in my suitcase. My fingers lingered on the coat sleeve, where a single silver star rested just above the cuff. I didn't plan to wear it yet. Not until I was ready. I had one thing left to settle before I left. 48 hours. Outside, music from the reunion resumed. I looked out and murmured, "One last night in the shadows." I wore no medals, but I carried more scars than anyone in that ballroom. And tomorrow, when the world called again, I would answer.